Hey there, and welcome back to Adam's Daily Bread. We're in the life of Jesus right now, and we are on day 18. So let's dive in. Quite a few entries today: Mark, Luke, John, Matthew. Here we go. They went out and preached that people should repent. They cast out many demons and anointed many with oil who were sick, and healed them. King Herod heard this, for his name had become known. And he said, John the Baptizer has risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him. But others said he is Elijah. Others said he is a prophet, or like one of the prophets. But Herod, when he heard this, said, He is John, whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead. For Herod himself had sent out and arrested John, and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. For John said to Herod, It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. Herodias set herself against him and desired to kill him, but she couldn't, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and kept him safe. When he heard him, he did many things, and he heard him gladly. Then a convenient day came that Herod was on his birthday, made a supper for his nobles, the high officers, and the chief men of Galilee. When the daughter of Herodias herself came in and danced, she pleased Herod and those sitting with him. The king said to the young lady, Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you. He swore to her, Whatever you shall ask of me, I will give you, up to half of my kingdom. She went out and said to her mother, What shall I ask? She said, The head of John the Baptizer. She came in immediately with haste to the king and asked, I want you to give me right now the head of John the Baptizer on a platter. The king was exceedingly sorry, but for the sake of his oaths and of dinner guests, he didn't wish to refuse her. Immediately the king sent out a soldier of his guard and commanded to bring John's head, and he went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the young lady, and the young lady gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard this, they came and took up his corpse and laid it in a tomb. The apostles, when they had returned, told him what things they had done. He took them and withdrew apart to a desert region of a city called Bethsaida. After these things, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is also called the Sea of Tiberias. A great multitude followed him, because they saw his signs which he did on those who were sick. Jesus went up into the mountain, and he sat there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Jesus therefore, lifting up his eyes, and seeing what a great multitude was coming to him, said to Philip, Where are we to buy bread, that these may eat? He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may receive a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are these among so many? Jesus said, Have the people sit down. Now there was much grass in that place, so the men sat down in number about 5,000. Now keep in mind, 5,000 men meant that many women, and again, probably that many children and older people, okay? Jesus took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to those who were sitting down. Likewise, all of the fish as much as they desired. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, Gather up the broken pieces which are left over, that nothing be lost. So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with broken pieces from the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. When therefore the people saw the sign which Jesus did, they said, This is truly the prophet who comes into the world. Jesus therefore, perceiving that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, withdrew again to the mountain by himself. Now, why do you think Jesus didn't want to be king? Is it because, while he is king, he was not that king? He was not the king that was going to feed them and provide for them and be an earthly king, right? He was a spiritual king. He was the king of the universe. He was the son of the Most High God. They wanted him to give the next meal to them, right? So at least that's my perception of it. Definitely something to consider. So moving on. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and to go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. After he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into the mountain by himself to pray. When evening had come, he was there alone. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, distressed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. In the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came to them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It's a ghost!" And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Cheer up! It is I. Don't be afraid."